One of my other hobbies is wargaming and miniature painting, terrain building, all of this stuff. And I'm sort of new to the whole terrain building part of everything. But I'm right here now with a new set of miniatures because I've painted for a while, and mostly when I paint and do basing and stuff, I tend to go for the same thing every time, and that is grassy fields, dirt, mud, and grassy fields. Because I really like, I really like green grass, so I've tended to go in on towards that every single time. I've done that also with my 1,000 Suns, which I've painted, and I want them strolling down a green field, killing everything in their path. So I want them to look really badass, but also fit in on the green grass. So I just recently bought the Elite set Warhammer new Primaris versus Necrons, and I wanted to do something very different. So I am making my Necrons walk around on industrial terrain. So I'm imagining big factories, big concrete walls and metal platings on the floor, a lot of cables and stuff. So I have started the process here. I've been outlining the bases that I'm going to need. I've got them right here. So like this, I have just placed the base on this piece of old cereal box, and I'm cutting it out. So I traced it, I'm cutting it out, and I'm going to do something with it very soon. So this is just the first step in the process. So here goes nothing, I suppose. There we go. I've cut out a bunch of these pieces right here. So I have lots of them right now. I also cut out a bunch more than I have models and bases, because I think of doing some sort of layers to the whole thing. So I think about placing two on top of each other and sort of cutting away a piece, making cables and stuff run underneath the plating. So I want that to be revealed in some sort of way. I also want to create some sort of goo leaking from pipes and from just storage thingamajigs, containers, and I wanted to cover the floor. So I'm sort of, I sort of want to create some kind of narrative I want to create some sort of narrative with my bases. I want there to be whole panels. I want there to be everything. A few panels need to be in working order, so to speak. They need to be covered and everything will have to be whole. But I also want there to be leaks of this stuff that I have no idea what it is, and I want there to be pools of it. So I'm thinking they'll be standing in sort of the same area, and stuff will have gone to shit right there. So right now, as I said, I have these bases, these base decorations. I also have this pile of junk, which I'm going to toss in the bin, because you need to keep your place clean, because it's not fun to do this hobby if it's all a mess. Bye for now. I also decided to I made another of these really big bases, because I want my destroyers to be standing on some sort of extra fancy terrain. So I have traced a sort of outline with my penciler, just to make, I'm going to cut away this piece right here, and I also made these short lines right here because I want to bend these, and I am going to place some sort of big rock or chunk, a piece of concrete wall or something, which has sort of crashed down through the roof, and I'm thinking maybe I will put this sort of the goo I wanted right here. So I'm making this 2 levels, 2 stories, sorry, and making it, I'm going to put it on the base with some sort of distance. So I'm cutting away a part, putting some distance in between, and making a sort of outline around the other end, and I'll make the goo come forth from underneath. But I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But it's an idea, I'm going to work on it, and I'll come back to it later. So here's the first base, not completed of course, but it is getting along nicely. So with a destroyer standing upon it, I have decided to glue this into place, the two discs, the two cardboard discs. So if I turn this around, you can see that it is slightly raised where he has a foot just standing down on the ground, and then there are some rubble under his other feet, so they are being they've been placed further down. So I'm thinking a thin layer of goo sort of down here underneath his feet where they touch right here, and going in underneath this plate. So there are two plates, and I'm thinking stuff will leak forth down here, so sort of somewhat covering. So it will have been destroyed for long before these guys get to the place, because there will have been battles here before, and that's why there's a little skull down here as well. So it's going to look really good, and I'm going to have to do some sort of thing to the base, to the side here, so that you can peek in underneath it, because it won't look any good. So I'm thinking some sort of construction paper or something. And yeah, now to decorate these two, well, this one pane. I have this cord. It is part of my headphones. My headphones got stuck in the car door, and when I got it all the way back home, they were not in the best condition ever. So yeah, they did not work. I do not recommend doing this to functioning headphones. I love music, so don't do that. But cutting these open, I discovered a part which was pretty cool. So I'm going to just open this and show you this little piece at the center right here. It is a really thin plastic part, so which the copper wire is wrapped around. So what I did was I made this come forth. I cut it apart in teeny tiny pieces, and I made a base using them. So this base is one full circle piece at the bottom, and then I cut two more circle pieces into shape, so that they would not, it would be sort of exposed, an exposed area down here underneath everything. So I'm thinking these are missing pieces, something over here somewhere has broken them off. So these are exposed, so to speak, these two layers. And I'm thinking in this bottom layer there'll be cords running around. So I have glued several of these pieces in place using PVA glue, and just putting them there in place. And I did this without thinking, so I didn't record the process. Those tiny marks that you can see right here, they're just, I'm thinking, sort of studs for sticking the metal plates in place. Don't remember the exact word right now, but what I did was a really simple thing. I just put a piece of one of these pieces down, and I put my scalpel right here, and I just twisted it around. Very common way of doing this, and that leaves you with a little hole. So when you shade this later on, it'll fill the hole really nicely. It's gonna look great. The idea behind these plates, when it comes to doing the plates, making the plates look like actual floor platings or something in an industrial futuristic building, is not my own idea. It is something I stole from Midwinter Minis. And the way I do this is I put a ruler of some sort and just take a ballpoint pen and drag it across the way I want it to be. So I'm going for a simple, really simple, just plating right here, and I'm going to go exactly down the middle. I'm going to have to do something more fun with it, so I'm doing it like this, and doing the same thing once more, just straight across, pushing hard, making sure there's a dent in the cornflake packaging, and there. When you spray this, the mark is still going to be there, and when you paint and shade it, it's going to look amazing. This can also be used as a base. You can also use this to make all manner of things afterwards. So you can cover up a plate with a certain something. I'm going to do that using some sort of granny grating. It's something used for some sort of knitting, or not quite. I'm not quite sure what you use it for, but it's a plastic net. And I'm going to cut it to size and make sure it fits within one of these. And I'm going to take some piece of sprue, cut away a piece of sprue from an edge, and make it go across the edge right here, so you get a nice finish to the knitted area, and that makes it look really good afterwards. So looking forward to getting it. So constructing has been finished. I have a few things I've made. So using that granny grating sort of stuff, I built this. I was planning on making this a base, but it ended up being scatter terrain. So I am going to prime this completely black, and then we're going to paint it. I want this brown part right here to look like a barrel. I want it to be broken. I want that green stuff pouring out of it and onto the bottom floor as well. I'm not quite sure how the effect will look. I have no idea how glue is going to look when you've primed it, and what that's going to make of the entire effect when you start painting it later on. But this is an experiment, and it looks sort of cool. I'm gonna try it out, see what it becomes. I also, going back to this one, I added some more rubble. This is just cork cut in tiny pieces. I have just torn a piece of cork, just torn a bunch of pieces, and I used these as rocks. So adding this to this one explains more why the floor is broken. And I'm going to put this destroyer right here as well. I'm going to push his feet down entirely, and I'm going to cover this bottom layer with glue after I primed it, because I want to see what happens if you paint without priming. Not sure how it's going to be. In worst case, I'm just going to have to prime with the glue afterwards. So that's that one. I also made sure to add this thin piece right here to cover the hole that was right there. So it's going to look better on the shelf later on. Going back to the wire one, here's the one finished. I showed you before. Nothing remarkable right there. And going to the simple one I made before, it turned out not to be very simple. I have been messing around with rubble and to make sure there's a certain effect which I really want. So there are these scuttling bug things in this kit, and I made sure to cut away every single piece of plastic sticking out underneath them. Not exactly, but good enough. And I made sure to fit those pieces of rubble perfectly. So, well, sort of not perfectly, but good enough, I suppose, underneath the bugs. So I wanted to be like them rushing over rocks on the ground. I have no idea if they're supposed to be floating in the air, but this looks really good. So the next part is priming the bases, and then you can get painting them. And after that, I am going to paint the miniatures and place them on the thing. But that's going to be for another video, I suppose.